Attorney Brian Middleton will get us started off here. Thanks for coming out.
Good morning. I'm Brian Middleton, Fort Bend County District Attorney, and I am honored and pleased to say that Operation Freedom was a huge success. The operation resulted in the arrest of 64 individuals who were engaged in human trafficking. Operation Freedom was a collaboration between the Fort Bend County District Attorney's Office, the Houston Trafficking Rescue Alliance, and Precinct 3 Constable's Office. This would not have been possible without HATRA, the Human Trafficking Rescue Alliance. HATRA is a collaboration of 22 different agencies from local, state, and federal levels. The objective of HATRA is to investigate, arrest, and prosecute those who are engaged in facilitating or compelling prostitution, and to identify and recover victims of human trafficking. And thirdly, to provide a full array of services for the victims of human trafficking. And so at this time, what I'd like to do is identify all the different agencies who participated in Operation Freedom. I'd like to thank David Hall, who is a Fort Bend County investigator who designed this particular operation. So this operation was led by the Fort Bend County District Attorney's Office. It also included the supervision of HATRA, led by Sergeant Wall from the Houston Police Department, the Fort Bend County Precinct 3 Constable's Office, the Montgomery County Sheriff's Department, the Harris County Sheriff's Department, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, Department of Homeland Security, and the U.S. Department of State, the U.S. Attorney's Office, Department of Family and Protective Services, the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission, the YMCA International, the Deliver Fund, the Texas Forensic Nursing Examiners, Harris County District Attorney's Office. As you can see, there were a lot of different people involved in this effort. Investigation of human trafficking is very time-consuming. The perpetrators of human trafficking are very sophisticated. So it requires a lot of work and a lot of effort to investigate and prosecute these crimes. So I would like to thank all of those who worked tirelessly in this effort and made this possible. The objective of Operation Freedom was to proactively address sexual exploitation within Fort Bend County. Human trafficking routinely occurs in plain sight. It affects all social demographic levels, races, religions, and socioeconomic levels. It's not just a city problem. Investigation and intelligence gathered tells us that human trafficking has occurred in Fort Bend County and continues to occur in Fort Bend County. Fort Bend County is up to the task of eliminating human trafficking and to provide services for the victims of human trafficking. We also, in this effort, were able to recover 2 juvenile victims and 5 adult victims of human trafficking. There were 3 arrests for compelling prostitution, 3 for promotion of prostitution, 24 arrests of males for buying sex. There were 11 arrests for narcotics charges, 3 arrests for miscellaneous charges that included fraud, forgery, evading, and failure to ID. Approximately $2,600 seized in money and vehicles. The information and the arrests that were made in this case will result in further investigation and likely more charges to be filed. And we hope that we will take the information gathered from this operation and identify other suspects and bring them to justice. This morning we have a great lineup of speakers from all the different member agencies. So at this time I will turn it over to Sherry Zach from the United States Attorney's Office. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you again for being here. On behalf of Ryan Patrick, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Texas, I am Sherry Zach. I am the Human Trafficking Coordinator for the Southern District of Texas. The Human Trafficking Rescue Alliance has been around since 2004. We have grown exponentially since then, and we are so excited about our partnership with the Fort Bend County District Attorney's Office, their investigators, all of our state, local, and federal partners. This operation is just one example of the great work that is being done in the Southern District of Texas to combat human trafficking. This is a problem, as Mr. Middleton said, that is everywhere. It doesn't matter if you are a big city or a small town, if you are on the border or if you are landlocked. This is a problem that we all have to address. And with our partners here, we have worked since 2004 to build the most successful and largest human trafficking task force in the country. We are a model for all other task forces in the nation and some around the world. And I am so excited to have Fort Bend involved with us and to work with them to prosecute cases along with their district attorneys, their assistant district attorneys, to work cases with local law enforcement and federal law enforcement. And I think that we stand here together today with the same goal, and that is to recover and rescue victims of this and make sure that the individuals who perpetrate these crimes answer in a way that makes a difference. So thank you all very much for all of your participation and for everything you do every day to make our community a better and safer place. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Supervisory Special Agent Jeanette Malazzo. I'm here on behalf of SAC Perry Turner of the FBI Houston Division. We work in conjunction with the HATRA as with our Human Trafficking Task Force as well. I am the supervisor of the Human Trafficking Task Force at FBI Houston. And again, as AUSA Zach just said, we are very excited about our partnership with Fort Bend County and with the HATRA. We've been working with them since the beginning, and we try every day to bring some of these cases that that the local agencies bring to us into federal court. We primarily focus on juveniles, and so during this Operation Independence, during the month of July, we also participated in Operation Independence Day, which was a nationwide initiative on behalf of the FBI that focused on rescuing juveniles. And so thanks to our partnership with Fort Bend County and the HATRA, we were able to rescue two juveniles during this operation with the assistance of both HATRA and Fort Bend County. Again, we can't thank enough Fort Bend County and the HATRA for their assistance to us and for their ability to provide us with all the necessary resources that that enable us to rescue juvenile victims of human trafficking. Again, that is our focus. My investigators work very hard every day to make sure that our children are safe in the communities, and this partnership has been invaluable for us and our task force. So I just wanted to thank Fort Bend County and the HATRA and our partnership with them. It's been very successful, and we hope to continue our partnership in the future. So thank you very much.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Mary Magnus. I'm an Assistant Special Agent in Charge with Homeland Security Investigations, and I'm here on behalf of Mark Dawson, who is our Special Agent in Charge. Thank you to the media for giving this attention. We feel that it's a very, very important endeavor. And first of all, before I give our company spiel, I would like to thank the line agents and officers, because they are the ones that are truly committed, very, very passionate about human trafficking, and without them, none of us would be standing up here. So I would like to thank them. Human trafficking is a national priority for Homeland Security Investigations, and we are committed to identifying victims of human trafficking, children, any nationality, women as well as men. And we feel that whether they're foreign or domestic, it doesn't matter. We want to ensure that victims are receiving the adequate services that they need for recovery, for rehabilitation, to become productive members of society, and so that they gain their lives back. Again, this wouldn't be possible without our line agents and officers, and as well as our prosecutors' offices, whether it's at the local or federal level. Again, I'm very humbled, I'm very obliged to be a part of this organization. Sergeant John Wall of HPD is the spearhead of this, and we're very, very excited to be collaborative partners as part of the Human Trafficking Rescue Alliance. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Wayne Thompson. I'm the elected Fort Bend County Constable for Precinct 3. I would just like to take a moment to express our appreciation to our DA, Brian Middleton, who spearheaded this effort. It was an honor to work with all the agencies that you see represented here today. This marks the first time in Fort Bend County history that a constable's office has taken an active role in enforcing human trafficking laws. Again, it was an absolute honor to work with these folks. It was seamless, and we had results, and we have proven that even in our area, which is one of the fastest growing but also very affluent, that we can have these issues. We will address them, we will come for you, we will arrest you, and you will be prosecuted in Fort Bend County. Thank you.
I'm Kevin Lilly, Chairman of the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission. I also want to echo the comments and to thank District Attorney Middleton, Constable Thompson, and Sergeant Wall. Collaboration is such a key aspect of law enforcement, and I think where we have made great strides is the notion that it's not just one agency, and not one agency that has to be the spearhead, but a collaboration between the FBI, Homeland Security, as well as state and local agencies to end this. The end game is the eradication of human trafficking, is the eradication of the cartels' leverage that they have in our city and in our community. The only way to do that is to have this kind of collaborative effort, this sort of selfless dedication. I also echo the fact that the folks, the men and women on the front line, the special agents, including my special agents at the TABC, as well as law enforcement, constable, sheriff's deputies, Houston Police Department, FBI, etc., who go every day into these establishments at their own risk. And I think everyone in the community should be grateful every day for the dedication that we have in the greater Houston, Fort Bend, Harris County area to eradicate this. So we are so grateful. There were many individuals in this sting that were tied to bars. As you know, TABC is responsible for crimes that occur in and around the licensed establishments. My personal goal is to eradicate all trafficking from all licensed establishments. That's a big job, and we require your assistance and everyone here, Department of Justice, etc. So I thank you all, and let's keep going.
Hi, my name is Katie, and I'm a nurse practitioner at Texas Forensic Nurse Examiners. Texas Forensic Nurse Examiners was excited to get the opportunity to work with this alliance. Our goal is to meet victims of violence where they're at in their community. By partnering with our community partners, we are able to provide support and decrease stress for the victims. Such as with this operation, we are able to be on scene and treat victims, as well as meeting them at local emergency rooms such as CHI, and at our community clinics. That way we decrease stress for the victims so that they don't have to have prolonged waits at treatment centers where they normally would have to wait for quite a while. So we were glad to take part in this operation. Thank you.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm Sergeant John Wall, and I have the privilege and opportunity to oversee the Human Trafficking Rescue Alliance. And today I want to say that Operation Freedom exemplifies the task force mission, which is to identify all victims of human trafficking, to conduct proactive investigations and prosecute at both the state and federal levels, and most importantly, provide individual comprehensive array of services to those victims that we recover. In 2018, the Human Trafficking Rescue Alliance, along with all of its partners, recovered almost 400 victims of human trafficking in the greater Houston area and arrested 211 perpetrators. We will continue to conduct these type of operations like Operation Freedom because simply the fact is the more we look, the more victims we find. By working collaboratively across all levels of government and partnering with non-governmental organizations and nonprofits, our goal is to educate communities on the issue of human trafficking, work collaboratively amongst our partners and leverage our resources, and provide the most effective response possible to the crime of human trafficking. We also want to send the message to the community that this crime will no longer be tolerated, and we'll do everything in our power and use every resource possible to assist victims of human trafficking, arrest perpetrators, and provide services and the justice to the victims that come forward. And we will continue these missions. I want to thank each and every one of our partners for making this operation a success. Thank you.
In closing, I would like to say that the Fort Bend County District Attorney's Office is committed to eradicating human trafficking in Fort Bend County. We have some of the best prosecutors in the state of Texas that will finish the heavy work and the heavy lifting that these officers have done in apprehending these criminals. I want to thank David Hall for putting this operation together. And I want the community to know that Fort Bend County District Attorney's Office is committed, and we'll be relentless in the pursuit of justice, and we'll make sure that these criminals are brought to justice and put in prison. If you are in Fort Bend County and committing these offenses, your time is up. We're coming for you, and we will be relentless. Thank you.
We do have a few moments if there's any direct questions you would like to pose to the DA or anyone on the task force, and then we'll conclude the media briefing. Are there any questions from the media?
Could somebody explain exactly, or give a general idea of how Operation Freedom actually went down, some of the circumstances of that of the case itself? Sir.
What in particular? What in particular about the operation?
Well, just some describe it. Were you hitting bars? Were you hitting, were you guys hitting houses or?
Most of it was done through social media, contacting, identifying targets, and bringing them to justice. We did it with the prostitutes and with the Johns, the persons that were attempting to purchase sex. And Jenna, you care to elaborate on that? Jenna Rudolph, she's one of the lead prosecutors in our Office for Human Trafficking.
As DA Middleton said, the operation was set up so that undercover officers, law enforcement agencies were proactively identifying and targeting individuals who were buying and purchasing sex. As a response to this, those individuals were then brought in and further investigation was done. Further details about how the operation worked is something that, of course, we can't fully disclose as this operation and other operations continue. But our goal and our focus was to really target individuals who were purchasing sex, exploiting individuals for sex, and also using online social media components to lure individuals in for sex, including many of those juveniles, several of which we were able to rescue.
How many suspects were targeted and how many finally arrested?
As far as targeted go, that number is sort of outstanding and ongoing. Ultimately arrested, there were 64 total arrests for human trafficking related offenses. That includes, as DA Middleton said earlier, everything from compelling prostitution, promotion of prostitution, all the way down to narcotics-based charges and other fraud and forgery charges.
Among the people who were arrested, there is an active law enforcement action. Can you just speak about that action, please?
Because that involves possibly some civil litigation, I'm going to defer to Sergeant Wall. That was a person that was employed by the Houston Police Department.
Yeah, let me just say that no one's above the law. Buying sex is illegal. And what most of the community doesn't understand, that these victims are, they're human trafficking victims. They're not prostitutes. And I want to make it clear to the public that 90% of the grooming and recruiting process of traffickers occurs online, and parents need to be very aware of social media applications that their children use and know who they're talking to.
Can somebody talk to the grooming aspect and how much of it is going on in our local high schools here, and how concerned the parents have to be about this?
It is concerning. I think it does occur. There's no question it's occurring in the high schools, all the way from the city of inside the city of Houston all the way out to the suburbs, and it's a very serious issue. Look, human trafficking is one of the fastest growing criminal enterprises in the world, second only to drugs and guns. That's why we have this task force. That's why we bring all of our partners together, work collaboratively, because we need every resource to effectively fight this issue.
What about the rescue of the individuals? Can somebody talk about how that went and the ages of the juveniles or something that were rescued, and are they being treated now or what?
You want to address that? Sorry, but invite Jenna Rudolph again.
The ages of the two juveniles who were rescued, they were both females. They were between the ages of 15 and 17 years old. Those individuals, with the help of our nonprofit organizations and our non-governmental organizations that are part of Human Trafficking Rescue Alliance, were able to immediately be provided with services. That included medical sexual assault nurse examinations, which was provided by Texas Forensic Nurse Examiners. They were also had opportunities to speak with YMCA International to get opportunities, resources for housing, for relocation, for counseling, to get them in a position away from their traffickers and back to the right path of restoring themselves to their lives and their normalcy. Those victim services are ongoing. They have the opportunity to continue to engage in them, and aside from just the few partners I named, there's so many others that are a huge part of this task force that make it possible for us to not only recover these victims, but most importantly, restore them.
How many were the girls local girls in the Houston area or the Katy area? Are they U.S. citizens, or were they brought here from out of the country?
Both juveniles were U.S. citizens. They were local here to this Fort Bend, Houston metro area. That goes back to what Sergeant Wall was saying, that the grooming process, the recruiting process, it happens on social media, it happens on Instagram, it happens on Facebook, it happens on Kick Messenger, it happens on WhatsApp. I can't even begin to name the number of apps that these individuals are targeting young juveniles, teenagers, as young as 12, all the way up to in their teens. And so when we look at these victims, and as DA Middleton said, our victims are not of one social class, they are not of one nationality, they are not of one demographic. They come from two-parent household, one-parent household, educated household, blue-collar household. They come from all kinds of backgrounds. What is common to them is that they are being targeted and recruited, and it's through social media. So this happens in plain sight, it's happening in our community, and it's really important that along with law enforcement and the nonprofit agencies, that the community takes an active role in being involved, being aware, being educated about what this looks like and how this happens, and reporting it and bringing it to the attention of those that need to know the information and can then do something about it to rescue these individuals.
Are all these 64 cases prosecuted in Fort Bend?
At this point in time, we're still working on the final charges. They were provided to the Fort Bend County District Attorney's Office for prosecutors, myself and Claire Andreessen, who's here as well, to continue to do follow-up work on. Based on what we have seen, some of them ultimately may go federally. We work very close with the U.S. Attorney's Office. Sherry Zach is a wonderful ally and partner, and we ultimately look at cases and make the best decision as to where it should be handled and prosecuted. Sometimes that's based on range of punishments that the state allows depending on the offense. Sometimes the federal has statutory minimums that are higher than what the state can do. And so the most important thing is that we have very open communication, very strong working relationship, and at the end of the day, wherever they are prosecuted, we're doing it together, and our goal is 100% the same, and that is to ensure that justice is rendered to these individuals and that these victims are safe and recovered.
Were they all operating in Precinct 3?
Sorry?
Were they all operating in Precinct 3?
As far as
The people who were arrested?
yes, so they were operating not only in Precinct 3, but also in surrounding areas. Human trafficking is a mobile offense, and oftentimes these girls will be, or even boy victims, will be transported. And so while they may not necessarily reside all the time in Precinct 3, they were intending to do business and operate out of Precinct 3, the greater Fort Bend County area, Houston area, and as we do further investigation, we do determine that they link to other cities and sometimes other states.
What is the status of the suspects? All are in custody, bailed out?
That completely varies. They were all taken in front of a magistrate judge and given the appropriate legal process that they're entitled to and required, and bonds were set based on the charges and the information at hand. So out of all 64, the results are varied right now.
How many of these arrests are directly related to human trafficking? In other words, like were some of these sprinkled in just, you know, soliciting sex or whatever the case? Like how many, I guess, are directly related to whether it was a minor or someone who's been taken into human trafficking? If that makes sense.
So human trafficking is an umbrella of an offense. It is an offense in and of itself under the statute. But there's also what we call human trafficking related offenses. And so even though those offenses don't have the title of human trafficking, that doesn't mean it's not exactly what it is. There's legal reasons, procedural reasons that we may operate under a different statute other than human trafficking. But at the core and the heart of it, it is human trafficking, whether it's compelling prostitution, promotion of prostitution, aggravated promotion of prostitution, even to the fraud and forgery charges. The arrests that were made for fraud and forgery were tied into human trafficking related offenses. These were not just individuals who happened upon the situation and were committing fraud. The fraud was related to the sexual exploitation of individuals and the buying and the purchasing of sex.
I just want to add to that. One of the problems with human trafficking is that these people are very sophisticated. They want to avoid detection. So in order to prosecute them from human trafficking, a lot of that investigation and that proof is made after the arrest. And you really need the cooperation of victims to prove the extent and how far-reaching their involvement is. So these arrests right now at 64, there may be later charges after we continue our investigation and are able to substantiate the elements of human trafficking or promotion of prostitution. And also, I neglected to mention, we have two prosecutors here, Claire Andreessen and Jenna Rudolph. I have to give credit where credit is due. These ladies worked very long hours doing this operation to ensure that everything was done properly and preparing warrants. But they represent the human trafficking unit in my office, and I'm very proud of them, and I think they represent the best in Texas. Also, I would like to ask Ms. Zach to share some comments regarding human trafficking as it relates to schools.
As it relates to schools, as we're all going back to school right now and the public schools are gearing up, I think that we need to be cognizant of the fact that the use of social media and the internet also permeates the schools. Part of HATRA are some of the independent school districts located within the Southern District of Texas. Their officers are being trained and made aware of human trafficking. Recently, we prosecuted a case, and it was a local high school where girls were being recruited. They were being recruited in person. They were being recruited online. There were communications using social media and chat apps. And this is something that students need to be made aware of, that they are vulnerable to this, that they can be susceptible to this. Teachers need to be on the lookout for the signs of the grooming that is going on. And as a community, we need to make sure that we are all vigilant. And when we see changes in our students, in our children, in their friends that don't seem to fit the normal pattern, we need to ask questions. And we need to involve all of the available agencies, which is what the goal of HATRA is, to bring in all the school districts, to bring in not only high school, and unfortunately, I hate to say this, but middle schoolers need to be made aware that they too are vulnerable, and they're incredibly impressionable. Middle school and high school is a time of growth and independence, but it is also a time of vulnerability. And it is where the individuals that prey on these children know to go. And they use other children to recruit. It is pervasive in the gangs. It is pervasive in areas where children are seeking financial independence from their parents. They're seeking to go out and explore what they believe are their invulnerabilities and be kids, but what they don't understand is how dangerous this is. It exposes them to violence, to drugs. Drugs are absolutely being used to control the victims, and we can't be naive about the fact that they're being used in the schools. And so we want everyone to be vigilant about that. This process is so all-encompassing, and as both Sergeant Wall and everyone who stood before you, Ms. Rudolph, the traffickers are very sophisticated. They know how to use social media. Their weapon is a cell phone, and they will continue to wield that weapon as long as they can and as often as they can. And that is why we seek to look to our sources, both state, local, and federal, who are constantly being trained on this, and keep up to date with the latest and greatest ways that the traffickers are using to exploit our children, and to find them where they lurk, which is online, and then to bring them to justice in our communities. So yes, it is in our high schools, it's in our middle schools, and we need to be vigilant. Yes, sir.
Are there any type of outreach programs that you have going on with the schools to let them know these are the signs to prevent, trafficking from happening on school grounds? Is there any type of partnership that y'all have going on in place, or to this extent?
I can tell you that the governor's office, that the local ISDs, that there are partnerships, that there are trainings done in the schools. There isn't any one program, there are many programs. Additionally, for parents, there are tons of resources online. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and NetSmarts has national documents and PowerPoints and things that teachers can use, that parents can use to educate themselves and educate the potential victims. It isn't any one group or entity that is doing any training. It's so many of the partners and spreading the word in situations like this, so that if you aren't getting any training, let's say you're a teacher and maybe it hasn't come to your school as far as any formalized training, you can go online and educate yourself. We are doing the best we can. Texas law enforcement requires their officers to have training on human trafficking. So everybody is making an effort to get that word out there. But it needs to be repeated over and over and over again, so that everyone is aware of it and on board with educating our victims, as well as sending the message to the traffickers that we know you're out there and we are coming for you.
Actually, parents buy a cellular phone just to give to their sons like entertainment or to do something, which is going to be the best advice for them with this situation that we have, with big window that we have seen right now.
What is the best advice we can give to our children or to the parents with cell phones? Do you want to address that as to how to?
Well, I think parents have the right and the responsibility to monitor their children's cell phone use, what applications they're using, what type of social media they're on. I don't see that as an invasion of privacy whatsoever. I see that as being a responsible parent and monitoring, because you got to think about it this way: they have access to the whole world, not just a playground, but the whole world. And so parents need to be vigilant. They need to monitor what their children are doing, whether it's to get applications to see what they're doing on their phones. It's so important, because children do not understand the risk involved.
Okay. At this time, we'll conclude the official press conference. We do have several elected and appointed officials that have other appointments, but I know everyone here will make a little time if you have some sidebar questions to ask. I want to thank the media for coming out here today, the other organizations, Child Proof America, Commissioner Myers, other elected officials, and everyone that's joined us for this very important event. So thank you for being here, and we'll be available for questions on the side. Thank you.
Yes, all right, yes, I've got to get